Episode 268 of Global from Asia, Black Hat Tactics, East versus West. Keep things interesting here at the show.
Welcome to the Global from Asia podcast, where the daunting process of running an international business is broken down into straight-up, actionable advice. And now, your host, Michael Michelini.
Greetings, everyone, from Shenzhen, China. My old home. Feels like coming back to home. Don't know if you all feel the same. You've lived in your hometown where you grew up, and I didn't even move too much until I was about 18. I went to college in Jersey, and then I worked in New York City, but, a little bit of time in San Diego, but most, 10 years of my adult professional, or at least entrepreneur, or at least on the ground fighting of business was in Shenzhen, China, and I'm coming back here every 1 or 2 months. Of course, we got a lot of work for the Cross-Border Summit in October. It's a good reason to come, some business deals, and of course, podcasts like today's. I had the chance to meet up with Howard Tai, the professor of Amazon. I've been meaning to get him on the show for a while. We have a lot of different feelings about black hat tactics in Amazon and the way things have been going over the years with some of the policies in Amazon and the way Amazon might notice or not notice things that are happening in their own platform. And I was just feeling like lately I've been doing a lot more controversial topics. Actually, already next week's show will also be something to get some blood boiling. We had my uncle last week talking about the gutting of blue-collar American jobs. We talk about the protest. We've been talking about a lot of different controversial things. If you're on an email newsletter, which I do recommend if you want to get a update of what's happening and also some first tips, maybe hit that subscribe on the globalfromasia.com/subscribe. I've been a little bit more bold and raw on what I put in the weekly newsletter, which has gotten some interesting replies. Been talking to Bloomberg quite often, following our case and trying to voice everybody's opinion here. But what is right, what is wrong? I think The Art of War is a good book you should read if you want to do business in China. The funny thing is China business sometimes is happening around the world as the world is flat, as borders come down, or maybe they come back up. We have to deal with cultures and businesses all around the world. Actually, one of our top blog posts on Global from Asia is East versus West cultural differences. It gets tons of traffic and huge comments about people saying what's better, Eastern culture or Western culture, etc. Seems like what we do here. Well, of course, we try to talk about business, but we talk about cross-border, which means international, which means businesses dealing across countries, and that means cultures. So today's show, I hope you enjoy. It gives you some perspective. Howard and I met in person in Shenzhen. We had some beef hot pot he treated. It was really great. A lot of beef. And afterwards, we sat down in a cafe and right in the middle of Shenzhen, China, and did a recording. I bring all my heavy gear. He was laughing. Everybody's laughing. I'm carrying around podcast gear and cameras. It's only audio. I don't know. Video just seems to change this feeling if people are on camera. So him and I are sitting in there talking about the whole idea of black hat, what things actually happen, how you can maybe prevent or notice, or what categories and trends, and we give some insights. So he'll also be a speaker and a part of the mastermind we're having at the Cross-Border Summit here in Guangzhou. Well, near here in Guangzhou, China. Hope you can make it out during the trade show season. It's a great way to support the show as well as meet some of these amazing speakers that have really insightful knowledge and experience. And I always try my best to convince them to share some things they might not normally share. And I hope to see you there. But let's tune into the show. Episode 268, you can get the show notes. We have our amazing team that, it's not just MP3 that we put in iTunes. This is a full show. We do full transcription, full links, images of our guests, such as Howard. You can check that all out. globalfromasia.com/episode 268. As you may have recently heard, I recently joined Alpha Rock Capital. It is an acquisitions firm for Amazon and other online businesses. If this show is interesting to you and maybe you want to join forces with your business and get involved, we'd love to hear from you at alpharockcapital.com. It's a US-based acquisitions firm with offices, of course, here in Asia, where I am and many of the partners are. And it's a very new thing, and we're actively looking for businesses to buy, as well as other ways you can collaborate. We can't officially online say that, but if you want to check out the site or stay tuned, www.alpharockcapital.com. Making deals, making things happen. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into another Global from Asia podcast. We're here in the heart of e-commerce. I'm back here in Shenzhen, China, and I'm with my friend Howard Tai, the professor of Amazon, right?
Yes.
Great, man. So I'm so glad we got to catch up. He treated me to an amazing beef hot pot here, and we're just doing a podcast I've been meaning to do for many, many years, and kind of an overview of how you got back into China, how you got into e-commerce, what you're seeing the differences between the Chinese sellers and international sellers, and of course the hot topic of black hat, white hat, things like that. So without further ado, maybe you can give us a little bit more background about yourself, Howard?
Okay, so let me go back where I'm actually more... I graduated in U.S. in UC San Diego as a computer science major. After the graduation, I actually started selling on eBay. That's actually what, in like 2003, that's when I started e-commerce. So from there on, I started, it was weird because I started selling it out of my own car, the back trunk of my car. I would go like those Chinese tea station or those tea places to start working and print out labels from there, and it's through like those Indicia with Dazzle and those
label makers,
like those zebra printers out of the back of my car. I had like inventory. After I printed out, I go to the back of the car and start packing the products and shipping them out the next day after I pack it. It's really interesting how from there how I started actually.
Sure. Yeah, 2003 is definitely early. I was a little bit behind you in 2004 in the New York side, on the other side. So how about China? How'd you get over to China?
So I actually started in 2003. So we did a lot of e-commerce, global, like other platforms as well back in the days. So it was like more like buy.com. Now it's Rakuten. But buy.com, we had like Overstock, we had eBay, of course, we had in other countries too, other countries' eBays. So I was doing global e-commerce back in the days before I even started Amazon. So we actually in 2008, 2009, I kind of saw a trend where Amazon sellers are, not Amazon seller, but overall. Wholesale-wise, people were actually buying a lot of wholesale goods from me in general. I was doing a lot of iPod accessories and ebook accessory, netbook accessories. So then I moved over to China to try to be the one that actually support selling these accessories over using like Global Source and Alibaba as a wholesaler instead of being a wholesaler only in US, in California actually. So that's why I moved over. And when I moved over, I actually started Amazon in 2009 in China, Shenzhen. So I was one of the first people or companies that was actually doing Amazon in Shenzhen back in 2009.
Yeah, it is really early. I think, as far as I know, you probably had to use a U.S. company to do that, right? I think it wasn't yet open for Chinese registered companies.
No. First, it was actually foreigner company actually could sell back in set up a company back in the day still in 2009. Yep. That's what we did actually.
Okay. And so I think you're kind of in the market now as, East versus West. You have some pretty high level masterminds we can talk about in the show. So, you're not afraid really talking about these black hat strategies and the tactics that people, have been using. what would you say is like, what you've noticed on the both sides, the East and the West, within this kind of industry?
Well, between East and West, I believe like the West is actually really good at marketing through their different platforms like social media, going through like influencers and every like SEO, Google SEOs, and everything else that normal marketing for branding is what it's used for. But for the East, they only mainly do marketing on Amazon because of some of the barriers, such as like the internet, where they can't even go on Google or Facebook or YouTube. So there's a lot of stuff that they can't do. So that's why they actually can't get out of this Amazon box. So they can't really start like advertising outside of Amazon. But they're getting better and better nowadays. So that's what it is. That's the whole big picture of where the East and West is at.
True. It's a good point you bring up that it's blocked. Amazon not blocked yet. At least I don't think they will block it. But yeah, most of the other channels of the West are not accessible freely in China. So, and it's true. I think also the requirements for English and branding skills is much more advanced outside of Amazon. I'm not saying it's easier on Amazon, but it's kind of a little bit more direct, right? You have the photo, you have your bullets, you have your description. Whereas I think a lot of these other channels, you have to have more open, creative kind of navigation. So, a lot of people think it's the Chinese sellers that are doing all the black hat stuff. Is that what you would say, or?
Well, I wouldn't say Chinese is the only ones that are doing the black hat stuff. Actually, in China, there's not a lot of people that are really using black hat, that are like kind of dominating. It's actually only a very few percentage of the bigger companies that are actually using black hat that are actually dominating. You might think that, oh shoot, I see all these black hat coming into the market, and it looks like it's all from Chinese, but it's actually one company actually has like maybe 3,000 or 2,000 accounts, and there's like only a handful, like maybe 200 of these companies or that are really big, that are selling. They're actually the same company, So there's like each company of the 200 has like a couple thousand accounts and stuff like that, dominating the market and stuff like that. So it's not really just all of China. I would say most of the Chinese people that are selling on Amazon are not very good at it, but it's just those that are very good at it, they just make sure they dominate over that market and category.
That makes sense, but I think maybe the other problem, Westerners, of course, we're an English language show, and most are foreigners. Of course, Chinese listen and are welcome to listen, but I think the other difference is Chinese are much lower on price, right? They really compete on price. So I think black hat's one part, I think, of the complaint of maybe Westerners, but I think the other is the price dropping. Is that something you think is more common with Chinese sellers, that they're more willing to do the price cutting?
Yeah, well, Chinese sellers are able to run at a lower margin or profit than most foreigners. I'm sorry, going back to when you're saying that black hat, if it's only for Chinese, Chinese is one of the people who are using black hat, but a lot of other countries are actually doing black hat as well. It's not just from Chinese side of it. People just think black hat is coming from China, but there you have like Russia, you have like Ukraine, you have like Romania, you have like other part of Europe that are actually, there's a lot of different places that, like Israel, that is actually doing a lot of black hat and different style of black hat. They're like martial arts, different techniques from different countries, So it's not just from China. So, and especially even right now in the supplements industry, there's like a lot of black hat going on. There's like a lot of like these hemp wars, and then there's these like keto wars, that goes on in there, So it's not just So it's not just only in other countries. In U.S., you could even see that. You see some black hat as well.
True. I like how you said category. I think that's something, and the listeners know I'm new into Alpha Rock, and I think maybe there's more black hat for sure in certain categories. Like you mentioned supplements and other like dietary, maybe is there certain sectors that you would say are black hat more than others?
Well, probably I would say supplements has a lot of black hat, but these are more mainly within U.S. The black hat people, because supplements are mainly like people trust like FDA approved stuff, where made in U.S. or made in. So mainly those supplements are made from Canada or U.S. are actually American sellers. Actually, a lot of them are. So so that's on supplement side. But if you're talking about other black hat categories, probably you'll see like a lot in like electronics, especially wireless accessories.
Yeah.
Those are like the killers. You can see like a lot of people are really ruthless, and they don't. Electronics is probably one of the biggest category where you see a lot of black hat. Anything like low margin, low price point stuff, I would say is where you see a lot of a black hat, easy entry point.
Okay, that makes sense. And electronics, of course, is pretty popular in South China, so there's a high volume of Chinese sellers in that category too. So then supplements, electronics. So we feel beauty. Do you think that's one, or makeup, or is that
A beauty, not as much.
not as much?
Because
Okay.
the beauty is usually like non-China, non. It's mainly in the U.S. A lot of the beauty stuff that is like that people are selling. Besides big brands, out of the country kind of brands, but mainly if your beauty is mainly locally sold by the U.S. side. So because no one really wants to buy China-made beauty products at this point. It's an emerging market in U.S. In China is actually called emerging market, where people in China is actually pushing, or Amazon's pushing those kind of marketplaces category. So that's something that is lacking in China.
Okay. Hope it's okay to go off topic a little bit, but like IP, I've heard of some big Chinese sellers having a lot of trademarks and patents themselves. I think some listeners or foreigners might think Chinese don't build brands, but I think I don't know if you would notice there's more like IP being filed in China for sellers.
I believe in the U.S. is probably pretty big in IP, but actually China is the biggest in IPs that files IP trademarks and things like that. So they're actually one of the biggest, probably trademark and IP country that does a lot of filing, more than others actually.
Within Chinese IP or US IP?
Even
Yeah.
China IP. China IP is the for first, I guess.
Got it.
So,
Okay. And we have a couple options we can talk about. I don't know if some kind of case studies, examples, either of black hat strategies, or maybe we can talk about stuff that you've been involved with or you've seen. I think people would learn from examples of the ways that they could, understand the marketplace of what's happening.
sure, we could first go on to like anything black hat if they want to know.
So, what would be some common ways? Of course, everybody talks about reviews. Is that like a common way, like fake reviews, stuff like that?
Oh, well, reviews, of course, is a big thing in Amazon. Fake reviews are always happening. It's probably been happening ever since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, people need to get some kind of reviews in order to sell. So, fake reviews are happening in the marketplace more and more. But Amazon's doing a good job in trying to slow that down. Okay. I've seen a lot of progress where reviews are getting like held, or where some listings aren't being able to create any more reviews. So Amazon is pushing on that, as
Okay.
well as in the future. I see a lot more harder and harder for people to get more reviews on their listings.
Okay.
So
It makes sense, but then the other side is even scarier to me is negative to competitors. So rather than trying to boost yourself up, you try to maybe push somebody else down. That's something I've been seeing a little bit and hearing about. That's kind of scarier to me.
yeah. So right now, before you just need to make sure you had inventory and you post it up and it'll sell. That's like maybe pre 2015. That's really easy to sell on Amazon. Now you got more of a variable that you need to make sure you have. First, you have to have money. It's not like before in 2015 where you can just put anything up and then you can sell. You need to do more, like somewhat like giveaways, or rebates, where you have to have some kind of like more of a capital, and you have more competitors are doing the same thing as you. So a lot of people are doing education, classes and stuff like that. So more and more people are understanding what to do. So before, like 2015, no one really knows what to do. They just put it up and it sells. So, and now there's of course more competition and stuff. So, and 2000 now it's a little different. Now you have to have more money. Now you have to have more graphics. You need to have videos. You have EBC. The enhanced brand content. You have to make sure you have good keywords in there. So all that is like everyone is actually doing, but in reality, even though you have a lot of money and you have a lot of inventory and you have a lot of content and videos and like content in displays, you still have one more thing now. You have to watch out for competitors who are actually attacking you, giving you negative reviews, trying to push you down. So what is right now, like a lot of things that people are doing is they're softening the market before the entry. They go in and they see, hey, I see these top 5 sellers. These top 5 sellers is really doing really good. I'm going to go and give them negative reviews. I'm going to go soften in the market. I'm going to go and get them suspended with keywords in the back end. So that when they get automatically suspended ASIN through Amazon and it becomes a dog page or something like that, they go in and they make sure that those top sellers are actually getting suspended first, or not being able to compete before they even get into the market. So you might think it's a competitor that's like hurting you, but they're actually not even on the listings yet, or even in the search results yet. They're just softening the market so that they can get entry point, and then they can come in and then they could dominate. So you can't really suspend them because they're not even selling.
Yeah,
you don't even know who it is. This is like a stealth mode,
Yeah, that's something I just learned. That's pretty. It seems to. I'm sure people are listening are just scared. I mean, they're,
Why are we doing this? Why are they doing this? Like, because it's like a lot cheaper than PPC. So it's a lot cheaper than giveaways. So just softening the market, getting people suspended is actually a lot cheaper as an advertising cost than doing the traditional giveaways and stuff. That's why you see all these attacks.
Yeah, I think the worst part is, people can't get Amazon to help them if it happens to them, right? I mean, is there any way to defend against it, especially if you're just a normal seller, just a normal, earning a living, working at home, is something you can do?
So honestly, Amazon is getting harder and harder. You can't be just a normal seller in order to survive. You really have to have more things that you need. So like, again, you really do need more capital than before. You really do need more support from Amazon. There's this program where Amazon, where you can actually request a account manager to help you with your like any needs that you have. So I recommend you have like an account manager, even though they don't do much, but when they do something, it's worth that extra cost. I think it was like $1,500, plus like I think 0.3%, or I forgot, up to 5,000 a month. So that I could share the link later on
Sure,
with
sure.
you.
Well, I'm taking some notes, and we can add it to the show notes. So it seems like, what is it? Is it if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing now?
I would say you would have to really be able to do stuff that would hurt their bottom line as well for them to stop. You've seen like images that people are sending out, changing and saying, "Hey, stop, changing my picture, or else I'll change yours." Or first emailing the competitor and saying, "Hey, stop this, or else I will retaliate back."
Yeah.
Things like you need to like. It's a war zone out there nowadays on Amazon. Especially Amazon's not really doing much to change much of it.
True. So I think one way maybe is to stay out of, try to just not go into those competitive sectors. Is that one way to maybe defend, like stay within a certain category and hope that this kind of tactic doesn't enter into your market?
So I in general, I do believe to try to, if you want to grow faster and be less of a target, you should do some kind of niche. Try to find your own niche. Try to create your own product line, something that someone can't just come in and dominate, or like with using Black Hat, because things like anything over $100 value products, I would always suggest people do, because that really gives it another second thought for other big competitors that wants to get in there, because it costs too much. They don't see it being and there's not a lot of sales for them. Maybe there's not like a lot of volume. So things like high volume, less quantity sold, but you do a lot of those kind of products would actually help your survival on Amazon.
That's good tips. It's been really good. Is there any certain tools that you would use or recommend for? Of course, there's so many Amazon tools, but maybe specifically into like monitoring Black Hat or protecting yourself.
For Black Hat monitoring, I'm sure there's tools that are out there for hijackers. You guys got to make sure when you see any hijackers on your listing, get them off really quick, or else they will get you suspended. There's a lot of ways that people get them suspended. So if they are on your listing, you get them off, or else it could cause you to lose your listings. Especially when they're sitting there just to analyze your data. They can feel your search volume. They can search your click-through rates. They could see all that on their business reports. So that's the reason why they're sitting there at a high price, getting ready to attack you by just analyzing their competitors.
Got it.
By sitting there.
That's true. So even if they're high price, they're just learning and getting data.
Yeah, they're just getting data.
So I think one thing I want to be clear is sometimes, especially if Western sellers, they take it personally, China's trying to hurt them. Nobody likes to get attacked, but I think it's Chinese are battling Chinese sellers. I've heard the stories. So I think it's, it's not like they're targeting certain people, right? Certain demographic. It's just kind of like you said, it's just war. And I think it's just China business tactics going on to Amazon, right? I mean, a lot of people say China, like Taobao was very cutthroat, right? Like a lot of the Taobao sellers moved into Amazon and used these kind of tactics and strategies.
Overall, I don't think Taobao sellers, a lot of them are from Taobao. Most of the Chinese sellers are from traditional B2B platform like Alibaba or Global Source, where they're seeing it being harder and harder to find customers because they would have to pay PPC cost. For like Alibaba or something, Global Source, you have to pay high advertising costs to get any of the clientele. So, and then especially when Amazon's moving into China to try to recruit a lot of these sellers, they're gonna jump on and being in China itself, you actually get a lot of advantages, such as prices of goods are always like 15% lower than any foreigners. Shipping prices are always a lot more lower than than foreigners by at least 15%. At least, So there's a lot of things that because they know how to network with the Chinese, Chinese know how to network with the Chinese. Chinese know what to say and how to influence prices. So there's that in the market. So
Makes sense. And
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And also you're saying Chinese against Chinese. Yes, there's a lot of big articles in Chinese and in China and in the community where this guy goes out and refinance or borrow money over from their house that they sold, or they borrowed money from the house, mortgage or equity, whatever, and then they go in and they try to buy inventory with this while people attack them, lost their listing, lost their seller account. Now they're like broke. They have all this, like debt. And you got to remember, like, these people have families.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's scary where like you're kind of destroying their families, livelihood and food on the table and stuff like that. So there's like it's not all Chinese are actually trying to attack each other and stuff. It's only a very few. A lot of in the community, they're against these people. These sellers are actually very hidden. They're not very out there telling everyone, oh, I do this kind of method of sabotage. It's actually it's like a taboo in China for whoever does it. So these people are actually hiding themselves in the community.
I mean, who wants to come out and say I destroy other sellers? Because if that guy finds out, I don't think that guy lost his house. I don't think he'd be too happy if he found out who it was. If he found out who it was, I don't know. I don't know what he think would happen. I guess that would be dangerous. So this has been fascinating, and I know you also, you help sellers overseas and helps around the world, like, maybe be aware of this and maybe use some of. Chinese sellers are not only black hat; they're just more advanced, right? I think one thing I've talked about on some of these shows is they're just doing a full-time job. A lot of Western sellers are still doing this as like to make money online. They're doing this part-time. They have their day job. This is some extra income. But for Chinese sellers, this is their livelihood, right? So while there's black hat, there's also just really advanced strategies, and they live and breathe Amazon. And whether it's Amazon or it's anything, I think Howard would agree, and many listeners, Chinese just work harder than most people, right? They're just so determined to do anything it takes.
Correct. Well, it's like their normal hours are 9 to 9, and 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday. So you gotta know, these are not owners that are doing this 9 to 9, 6 days a week. These are employees doing this. So they are working those kind of crazy hours for the owner. So each you see how fast they grow, as well as they do not they very concentrate on one thing on Amazon, and they don't go out of the box. That's why they're very sophisticated within Amazon, because they have nothing to do but sit in Amazon, while foreigners go and do their Facebook,
multi-channel,
Shopify, their Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channels and things like that. They're just has nowhere to go but running around in the box of Amazon and being really good at it, because they don't have anything, no learning curve. It's like less and less of a learning curve to improve, because while you're trying to go and learn other things and there's learning curves, they're getting better and better and faster.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, at some of the conferences we've had, is a lot of times the Chinese will just say they don't care about websites, they don't care about third-party traffic, outside traffic. They're just Amazon only. And usually the Westerners are more about brands, like building a holistic brand, building content, building traffic, building articles, building social media accounts. But I think, Chinese sellers don't care about that.
I mean, I'm not saying that Chinese are the way they're doing is wrong. I don't know. I think the Americans aren't. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that within Amazon they're not really focusing on, but they could probably do better. Like what we can kind of learn from the Chinese, how they're more focused on Amazon before they move out of Amazon.
Yeah,
I would say that they for the outside of China, people are moving outside of Amazon to get traffic to push back into Amazon, to branding and everything. But it's a lot harder because Amazon itself is really tailor focused traffic that wants to buy your product, while you're trying to weed out the people who wants to buy your product through funnels or through ads and stuff like that, which costs like a lot more than 15% of the Amazon fees.
True. I mean, I understand both sides, but I think usually the way to succeed in life is focusing and maybe, or at least building one really developed, strong channel, which seems like still is Amazon for volume, at least in e-commerce today. So this has been fascinating, Howard. I know you got a lot of work to do, and it's been great catching up with you. We have you, of course, you're going to be one of our speakers, contributors to our Cross-Border Summit this October, and 22nd, 23rd. You also help out with the mastermind before, so people that want to upgrade can do that. And you also have some of your own things you're always doing. Do you want to share about what you're up to?
We're actually doing a mastermind in October. I think it was October 7th to 8th in Miami. We're going to have everyone, like the top elite innovators from worldwide, come into Miami, flying through. We're going to have some people from Israel. We're going to have some Russia, and we're going to have some Ukrainians. We're going to have some Chinese. We're going to have some Europeans.
Awesome.
Even from Romania. So they're all going to go in there, and we're going to do like a hackathon and something like that, where all these elite sellers and practitioners will be able to show their stuff and be able to teach a lot of our mastermind members that are going to join us to open their eyes and to show that world that's not just Chinese are the one that knows their stuff. There's a lot of people outside of China that are pretty good at what they're doing on Amazon.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really exciting, man. And thanks again for coming on the show. We'll link up. Yeah, we'll have a few more links. We always put the full blog post on the show, and you can check it out. And thanks so much, Howard.
Thank you very much.
Are you moving money between countries? Specifically, if you have a Hong Kong bank and you're trying to get money in or out of, or more out of Hong Kong, you can check out GoRemit.hk. They are our long-term sponsor here at the show. I'm advertising them every time, but I'm happy to really be plugging them on the show. I know the founders. I've been following them since the early days, and cross-border payments is a very necessary part of doing cross-border business. Banking is a pain point. We try to talk about that in the show, and they're here to help reduce the fees, and as well as it adds some service. You can usually connect with their account rep directly on various platforms, and they're there to help as well as save you money. Check it out at www.goremit.hk. Tell them GFA sent you. All right, so we finished that interview. Hope it wasn't too loud. I mean, we have some expensive gear. It's about $1,000 of gear strapped to my back and around my neck. But I like to do sometimes these podcasts in person, especially when I'm here in Shenzhen. I've been meaning to talk to Howard. We had to catch up on preparations for the Cross-Border Summit. He's also got an interesting mastermind he's doing over in Florida. I'm sticking on the Asia side. I'm sticking in the China side, even though there's been some really crazy political and business shifts in the world. We're still sticking to our Cross-Border Summit this time, 4th annual in Guangzhou, China. If you want to spend some extra time with Howard as well as some other top speakers, suggest upgrading to the VIP pass, which gives you a half-day mastermind before the 2-day full event of speakers, which, of course, by itself is also very valuable. And, man, it's a lot of our time is spent the last few months and 2 months away. Anyway, enough of the plug. Of course, that is appreciated to support this show, but let's just talk about my blah, 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 black hat tactics on Amazon. And I think I've been in and out of the game, honestly, as either Amazon seller, e-commerce seller, online business owner in all different forms. Started myself 2004 on eBay. And I think it's true, there's the few powerful or loud people that cause problems that make everybody look bad, whether that's, certain political people in the U.S. that makes all Americans get a bad name. Like me, I have to hear about political stuff that happens in America, or gun shootings. Does that mean everybody in America has a gun and starts killing people? I mean, I'd have to say for the black hat, there's not everybody in China doing it, but Chinese people are, like we said in the interview, very determined to do whatever it takes to win. I mentioned at the beginning of the show the Art of War book, which I recommend you reading. And it's not just foreigners to foreigners. They're just trying to win the game and do winner takes all kind of mentality, dog eat dog. I mean, I try to think of the abundance mindset and hope that everybody can earn money and earn a living. But some people might think it's everyone out for themselves, and I'm just going to try to get as much resources, cash, business, ranking, or whatever it takes. So I'd leave it up to you to decide how you would handle that, but it's definitely scary. I'm not going to lie, it's scary. I mean, I haven't gotten attacked yet that I know of, and I've had some negative reviews I didn't agree with, and I couldn't tell if it was a competitor. It wasn't it didn't kill me, but I've heard of stories where you're just under attack with just negative reviews all over the place, and it's really not fair. I mean, there's one side to maybe boost your own stuff, but to actually like soften the feel where you're just negative attacking your competitors seems really hard for me to accept as something anybody could really do. But because I'd rather make myself, even if it might not be the most legitimate way, at least you're focusing on yourself rather than trying to hurt other people. I just really think that's the worst. But this stuff has happened even before Amazon. I remember DDoS attacks. I don't know if anybody knows that. It's like, I forget, denial of service. Sometimes even governments do it to other governments or something. But it's where they send tons of traffic, try to break your site, take it down. So when a lot of sellers were using light-in-the-box kind of clones, or there was drop shipping tons of products from maybe Huachanbei and pumping Google with backlink spam and trying to rank in Google, a lot of times what they would do is take down their competitors. They'd see them ranking in Google or getting a lot of traffic, so they would try to crush their server and take it offline and like destroy their website. I mean, I've talked to people that have had that happening to them. It's true. Who's going to admit that they did that to somebody else, right? If you're doing black hat stuff, usually you're not going around everywhere saying, hey, I take down websites. Hey, I negative review bomb my competitors. So, these people aren't going to come out and say that they're the ones doing that. I just hope long term. I mean, we've had Mayor on the show a few times back in the day, and I think long-term brands or long-term, doing the right thing will win. And we of course, there's these short-term hiccups and nightmares, and maybe you will actually get your account taken down, which is really unfortunate and horrible. But there's the other idea. If you have a really good product and you're the only seller, worst case is you could have somebody else that could be the seller of your product or your brand. Of course, if there's negative reviews getting slammed on a listing, doesn't give you many options, but we have to just try our best to believe that good will win over evil long term, and hope that Amazon will continue to improve its algorithms and tactics of reviewing and catching these negative things that are happening. But I also do agree you should understand the market and understand these negative things that can happen to you, even if you're not going to do it yourself, which I hope you're not. But if you understand what can negatively happen to you, you could then prepare, or at least be mentally prepared. Of course, I don't want you to have more nightmares. Already selling on Amazon, selling on e-commerce is already stressful enough with I know how it works. The inventory financing, like you got to borrow money from banks or investments financing, to get more stock. I talk to, Chinese sellers. I have many friends that are Chinese sellers as well as Western sellers. You're betting a lot. Like Howard said in the interview, you're financing your house to buy stock and send it to the Amazon warehouse and hope you roll the dice and that people keep buying it from that listing and you don't get like destroyed or your competitor beats you. It's stressful. I'm not going to lie. So, we don't need more of this nightmares of black hats or softening the fields, just slamming your top listings and trying to take out markets. So we just have to try to be prepared. I mean, like Howard said, Chinese sellers are more focused on Amazon only, and Westerners, as I do with my stuff, we make websites and we try to make our social media campaigns and we try to do off-site and we try to do content. And Chinese sellers I think most would agree, they don't bother with that stuff, or at least not until they're making tapped out Amazon, which seems pretty hard to tap out all of your potential in your Amazon channels. But then it's so scary, right? If your account gets in problems. So we've had people in our events and our shows, like Jerry Gahn with the AMZ tracker way back. He would say, be a product-based company more than a marketing company. Making a really good product is going to probably win long term. That's what Amazon's looking for. They're not looking for you to be the top marketer. They're looking for you to be the top person providing the best product at the best price with the best service. I think those are the 3 criteria. So long term, you will win. And I know you're saying, well, I'm not in China, I'm not at the factory. Well, there's these trade wars happening. My Uncle Gary was on last week hoping that the tariffs happen and continue to happen. And you can agree or not agree, but what I mean is things are going to change. The world is going to change. The brand, the product development, the person that knows the product will be the one that wins long term. What we're doing here is just trying to open your eyes. Like, why did we talk about this today? What are we trying to do? Scare people? Trying to make people get out of the game or stressed out or not get in? There's no lying. It's harder now than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. It's continuing to get harder. So that means you just got to get in earlier, try to find your niche, try to find your strength, focus on that. I had a good conversation with Chris Davey here in Shenzhen as well. Probably should get you back on the show, Chris. I think he's been on a couple of times already. But yeah, I mean, he's working really hard on unique products, trying to get IP, trying to get patents, trying to get trademarks, trying to differentiate, try to have really strong barriers to entry. I know other sellers I've talked to are doing the same, building out your IP portfolio, doing things that can protect you, and you can use that to give to Amazon to take people out of your market, legally. And we just got to get smarter and better. We can't complain and cry and get scared somebody's going to take us out with these black hat tactics. I think we just have to man up and be as strong as we can and get through it. Or maybe it's true. Maybe sell out. Maybe contact Alpha Rock or somebody and just take your number. Go to some brokers. Get out of the game. Maybe some people might feel that right now. I know that's something people could think about, and that's not giving up. If you feel you've tapped out, maybe you're at this level, or maybe you're really good at starting. Maybe getting it going, and then you want to get out. And there's no shame. I mean, some people might have their opinions about selling your business earlier or selling your business instead of getting through the next level. But there's different entrepreneurs at different stages or different phases, or maybe you want to move on to a different type of business. I mean, respect everything out there. And I am done with the blah, blah, blah. I'm going to head out back to the Hong Kong airport. Man, I feel like seriously, it's like a digital and offline war zone, man, lately. It's like, it's really, I mean, I guess honestly it's fascinating, and of course it's scary, but this is life, and we can choose to hide and not stick our necks out, or we can take chances and potentially get hurt. But I think that's what I try to do with my kids, right? I think my wife was like, oh, don't let him do that, he's gonna get hurt. I'm like, well, that's how my kid is gonna learn, falling over and then getting back up again. Be the gladiator in the arena, the ecommerce gladiator. That book is getting through. I've almost finished the first draft and grinding away. Anyway, thanks again for listening all the way till the end. I hope you enjoy this. Show notes and everything, globalfromasia.com/episode 268 with full transcript. It's amazing. Take care. Bye-bye.
To get more info about running an international business, please visit our website at www.globalfromasia.com. That's www.globalfromasia.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our iTunes feed. Thanks for tuning in.